Hi everyone, welcome back to Monday Positivity. I had such an incredible conversation with a truly inspiring soul. Her energy is beautiful and I loved every moment of our interaction. In this podcast episode, we are exploring powerful topics such as alignment, energy blocks, activating psychic gifts, stepping up your vibration, and clearing energetic obstacles. My guest today is a modern day oracle, a psychic soul alignment coach dedicated to guiding men and women toward a life of purpose and passion, helping them align with their unique gifts and impact. Her journey began with a transformative experience in 2015 where she encountered what she believes to be the divine goddess, setting her on a path of healing and spiritual awakening. With over 14 years of experience in mental health and disability services, she has since embraced her psychic gifts to coach others, combining these abilities with various healing and coaching modalities. She believes everyone has untapped psychic gifts waiting to be uncovered. Along with her coaching, she offers resources like her Oracle's Lounge, Psychic Soul Alignment Sessions, free guides on aligning your business energy, earning through your passions, and manifesting with moon magic. Through her unique energy reading method, she teaches others to work on the energetic plane, healing blocks, reprogramming beliefs, and becoming a magnet for growth and opportunity. I will put all the links to her socials and her free resources in the description box below this video. You can connect with her and you can also visit her YouTube channel. I will put the link again in the description box below this video. I'm thrilled to share her insights with you. Her wisdom is as magnetic as her energy. Make sure to check out her social links, including her YouTube channel and other resources, in the description box below. Without further ado, let's get started with today's episode. Let our listeners and viewers know something about yourself, about your
Okay.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'm Samaya. I am a psychic soul alignment coach, and I am the creator of the energy reading method. Essentially, my role is to help men and women connect with their own spiritual gifts, their own life purpose, so they can sort of create the impact that they're destined to make in the world. Um, and I've been working self-employed as a coach over the last 8 years. And one of the things that I found was that a lot of people that were trying to make a transition from maybe the working place or whatever they were doing to something new, they would maybe hire a business coach. They would hire somebody to help them put structure into something new that they wanted to create, but they were failing to launch. They couldn't just start. It wouldn't take off. And it's something that I've noticed through my own journey that it's because the coach was not necessarily helping people come into deeper alignment with who they are, with the deeper gifts, with their own confidence, with their own energy signature. So then when they went to create things, they failed to launch because they didn't have that alignment. So I decided to specialize as an alignment coach because as important the creation process is, we need to be able to come into alignment first, or else we're not going to take off. The things that we put into motion are not going to work. So that's where my line of work is these days, kind of really specializing on that sort of particular area of alignment. And as an energy reader and as an advanced energy reader and a teacher of the energy reading method, what I found was that by learning to read energy, which is essentially the universal language of the soul, and it's the only true universal language, beyond race, beyond religion, beyond language, we were able to really kind of understand more where the blocks, where the misalignments, what's really holding us back, and the way to navigate through the world in a way that's going to, again, support that alignment process.
Mhm.
Um, and I love this work. I really love being able to understand what makes people tick, understanding where their blocks are, where the hesitation is, whether I guess the things that are holding them back.
Right.
That's that to me seems to be my the point of excitement that makes me do what I'm doing at the moment,
Mhm. Okay.
if it makes
And
sense.
in your, yes, it definitely does. And in your
Hmm.
bio, you had mentioned, like, you had gone through shamanic illness, right?
Hmm.
Could you talk about that
Hmm.
also?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really interesting point to get into because, think about it for a minute. That point of transformation for so many people in life, yeah, when maybe somewhere in the back of their minds, they know they're meant to be doing something different. They know that they should be making a change in their lives, but they're not doing so because the circumstances feel like they're a bit too scared to make that change. I was kind of a little bit on that, not 100%, but I was a little bit in that. And sometimes it takes that little bit of a turning point in life, yeah?
Right.
It could
Yeah.
be an illness, it could be the end of a relationship, it could be being fired from a job, it could be something that turns our lives upside down.
Mhm.
And then from one moment to the other, we find ourselves in an entirely different position where it's almost like the universe creates it so that it pushes us on the edge to make that change because we were too much in our comfort zone to do it, right? So I was I still am a single mom to an 11-year-old boy living in the UK. I was working in domestic violence, a job that I really loved, but it stopped being what I wanted to do. I had
Mhm.
been in a career for 14 years that was really satisfying, really great, but there was a deeper calling within me to help people in a different way. And at the time, I was trying different things with my energy work and stuff, but I hadn't given my full energy to it. So in 2015, I ended up getting very sick, very suddenly.
Mhm.
We're talking about from one day to the other. I lost my hearing and I was in very deep pain. I don't remember the type of thing that happens, that the condition I was told. Not many people know it, or many doctors are aware of it, apparently, but often it can be either stress related or whatever. And during that time, I just knew something quite profound was taking place, right? Because from one day to the other, I was just in a different state of being completely. And it happened like the how quick it was, it really was what really made it stood out as well. There was no indication before, you know. So this illness lasted 5 weeks. And during those 5 weeks, I've lost half my body weight. And as I said, I couldn't hear. I've lost the hearing from my left side and a lot from my right side. I couldn't actually have conversations on the phone. So I literally had to text a friend to come home, to call the doctor, to advise, to make the appointments and all that. And I had friends queuing up to bring me food, take care of me, like, because I literally spent the 5 weeks in bed in
Mhm.
complete dark. My son had to move to his dad's for those 5 weeks. And I was in this state of kind of, in a way, mercy to God, or source energy, universe, whatever you want to call it, right? You don't have to believe in God, but I knew that it was something a lot bigger was taking place. By the fifth week, something happened that was quite interesting. And just to bear in mind, during those 5 weeks, I was very high temperature, in a lot of pain, right? And it got to a point with the pain that it was so strong that kind of like I remember having this moment where the pain got so strong that I kind of felt like liberated by it. It's a very strange thing to even describe to you. But it's almost like I went through the threshold of pain to a new place where I just felt I completely surrender. Yeah. And that's when I had a communication with what I call the goddess, like the energy of a divine presence, right? That was kind of like um, very tangibly there. And I knew that it was communicating to me very clearly. And one of the things, the first thing that she said to me was that, Samaya, the gates of your soul are now open, which I remember thinking like, oh, that's quite a funny thing to say, But then again, remember, I was in like quite an interesting space of, as I said, complete surrender through the threshold of the pain. And I just felt like at this point where anything was possible, like there was nothing to lose, nothing to, it was just like complete surrender is how I can best describe it. And even though, just to also share before I continue, even though I was in this state of being that was pain and suffering and all that, it was almost like it still felt like something, there was grace in it. And I felt like something very profound was taking place. And I knew that. And I knew that wasn't like an ordinary illness. I knew there was something about through a lesson, through something that I was being put through, that I was meant to experience to come through the other side. So there was still an energy of gratitude. I was shocked, first of all. I didn't even realize that people cared about me so much to come home, bring me food, take care of my needs. It's like I didn't have to summon those people. I didn't have to text them. They just arrived and I didn't even know how, you know? Um, and what was interesting is like they took over, and that felt really special just to realize on that very human level, actually, there's people here that sort of care about me, and I didn't think that I didn't know that, not really to that extent. So there was that state of being that was going on for those weeks, right? And then I had this communication, this presence comes through, and I'm kind of like, okay. I was like in complete awe because it was like nothing I had experienced before to that extent. Um, I'm quite a spiritual woman, so I believe in a higher power. I believe in sort of like the goddess energy. And when she appeared and she said, the gates of your soul are now open and you've moving through the gates of your soul. So I thought that was an interesting. And then I had this vision, these letters shown up right in front of me. And the letters, the typography was showing your life is now going to start getting easier. And again, that phrase, reading that phrase seemed very kind of strange to me. Like I didn't know what all this was about at the time. I was just, and that was when I felt like lots of tears started rolling through. I felt this immense state of gratitude, being in front of this divine being, feeling like blessed and feeling like despite the illness and everything, I felt like something like this was the most beautiful thing that was happening. And like the most intense state of happiness. It's very strange from this extreme pain to this state of like deep level of happiness, and strange. And that communication and her presence and her saying the gates of your soul are now open, that was the end of that illness, that kind of last bit of the process of the illness. And the week after that is when I started recovering. And I knew whilst I was in the last legs of that my life was going to be completely different after that. Like my work was coming to an end, my contract, um, and there wasn't an opportunity to renew it. And that was right for me. I didn't want to. I knew that I could never live life in the same way. I couldn't go back to just look for security because I was a single mom. I was thinking like I should play it safe, right? Because I need to take care of my son and all that. And I knew that there was a different motivation and energy behind that motivation that actually, no, of course it's going to work out. Of course I'm going to move in a different direction. And of course it's going to be the right thing for me. Like I couldn't be held down by the expectation of safety or the motivation of safety anymore in the same way. I just needed to, I felt like the universe was supporting me to make a shift, like the goddess were there supporting me to make a shift. And all I can say is that my life has changed dramatically since, in that, and it wasn't sudden. Yes, like 2 months after that, my work was coming to an end, but I kind of like I made the transition, and I sort of like I took some months to really build up on my health because after 5 weeks of being in bed with losing half your body weight, I've lost so much nutrients. I needed to build up my health. And that took a number of months. But I just knew that I couldn't go back to how life was before. And I never went back. Like I went part-time to another job for a year, but I sort of made it work. I've always been much more motivated making the shifts and changes, using the energy tools when I work with clients and creating and deepening my level of trust to step into this new vibration and this new way of living, and really backing it up with my own trust and the support of the universe, you know?
Right.
So that was back in 2015, you know, and I don't know if without that I would have put so much faith and trust in all the shifts and changes. But I know that a lot of the women I help with right now are going through similar transitions without the illness, right? So I hold that sacred space for them because they know that life as they've been living it hasn't felt right. And they're making now a transition in a way where maybe they do a bit of the part-time work whilst we work together as they're establishing themselves and they're coming into alignment with how they meant to be serving in the world, because they have that deeper desire to be of service in a different way to how they've been so far, where it's a lot more connected to their own gifts and their own sort of energy signature and who they are through their own experiences. So I think that experience served me, taught me, was my initiation, if you like. That's why I call it the shamanic illness, my initiation into that new way of living that made it possible for me to hold space for other men and women to do the same.
Yeah.
It's given me the confidence, the I don't know, the energy transmission, the motivation, and the belief, actually, because I think, you know, beliefs are often what holds us back, and the limiting beliefs that we hold in ourselves, right? And that kind of almost like transformed my belief system around what's possible.
Right.
So I'm very grateful at that time of my life because it really provided me with a turning point that has just altered the trajectory of my life ever since. And I'm not saying that it's always been easy or that it will continue to be easy, because it's not. I still need to, at times, put a lot of trust and faith and step into that energy. But there's no way back now, if it makes sense.
Yeah. And actually, I'm getting, chills just listening about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I love that. I
Yeah.
love
And
that.
speaking of beliefs, you also mentioned that, everybody has psychic gifts.
Oh,
But
yeah.
right. Yeah. So what do you think are some blocks that, prevent people from connecting or maybe
Okay.
activating, those? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So here's what I feel is going on. I feel there's these two schools of thought, which creates the belief system around spiritual gifts. I think there's two schools of thought. One school of thought believes that only a few people have psychic gifts, spiritual gifts, energy reading gifts, which is what I teach, right? And only those can really do a great job with it. And then there's a school of thought that believes that everybody has the capacity. And you'll see a lot of very trusted, well-known psychics will say that as well. And so according to the schools of thoughts, people will kind of like oscillate between one or the other, right? I honestly believe both is true. I believe that we have spiritual, only a few people possess the spiritual gifts, but actually everybody has the capacity. It's only like, if you think about it, a gift comes wrapped, right? So the only reason only a few people possess it is because only a few people tend to unwrap the gift.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think this is happening is because I believe it's a gift from a higher self, from our soul. And it requires a level of kind of initial preparation for us to desire to want to open up the gifts. And I really love the question that you've asked, because I tell you what, in my experience, people like the idea of having the spiritual gifts, but when it comes down to it, energy reading and psychic energy is essentially getting to the truth of the matter. It's showing you where the energy is really true. It's going behind the facade, behind the how something presents itself. And when it comes down to it, not everybody's ready for it.
Yeah.
Because getting down to the bottom of seeing something for what it is means that, well, that could mean making changes for people. That could mean seeing where people are being honest and loving towards them when they're pretending that they are. That might mean having to make changes in our own lives, right? So say you start opening up to your gifts, right? And essentially you're reading the energy for what it is. And it's like you need to make peace with that, and not everything that we see is things that we want to see. And it's not that they're necessarily terrible or anything like that, but it requires a period of adjustment. So there's a lot more to reading energy than just being able to read it. It's also about how we adjust to it. So essentially, our psychic development is also spiritual development. It's also emotional and psychological development. It's kind of like a path of growth. It's not just a tool that you do and you just have fun with, although I think it's very fun in itself. So essentially, I think one of the biggest blocks and hesitations is around that we are going into a deeper level of honesty and integrity within ourselves by being sort of willing and wanting to read energy. And equally, we live in a society where, having access to reading energy and psychic gifts, it gives you a lot of power in the world. You cannot be easily manipulated by society, family, religion, all those kind of social contexts that we put ourselves in. And that's a dangerous thing for society. You know what I mean? Empowered people. So I don't think that it's been part of our education. If you look at witch hunts and witch trials in the past, right? Like the witches and the people who held the secret knowledge, the mystical knowledge, they were persecuted. So that is in our DNA, and that's in the cellular memory of a human being. We might not have conscious memory of that, but there's an inherent fear that would stop somebody from wanting to do that because in past lives or in the sort of ancestral human history, that's been something that's been condemned and persecuted. So there's that collective thing that we need to take into account. And a lot of my work, I guess, is around creating a safe container and a sacred space to heal those energetic blocks, to create that space so we remember the power that was held, that was given to us from a higher self. But imagine anybody having access to it immediately, but not having that level of integrity or not really kind of having cultivated enough of a well-being in themselves. That could really be a difficult tool to deal with, or it could be used in a not very positive way, right? So that's why I feel that it's still seen as a little bit of a secret knowledge and a mystical knowledge because there's a protection around it.
Yeah.
And we need to go through a bit of a process to be able to even desire to want to open up the gift so that we possess the gift, right? A gift comes wrapped. We need to unwrap it and we need to kind of like be ready for it. And I think that it's not coming as a desire for everyone because of the reasons I've explained, and because for a lot of people, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
And there's different levels of awakening in our consciousness that gives us that motivation to want to look for more and desire more knowledge, more truth, more mystical experience, and to be able to dive into sacred knowledge. And quite frankly, I'm glad that it is like that. I don't think it should be like just, I think it is made accessible and available to everybody, which is great. But I think I'm glad that the desire is not there for everyone. I do think it's something that needs to be done with care and with integrity. and people need to be ready for it.
Mhm. Right. I agree.
Does
And
it make
let's,
sense?
yeah, yeah, it does. Because it's like,
And of course,
preparing the vessel before, you put something sacred into it.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly. It's about purifying our own vessel to some extent.
yeah.
It's a path of growth. Any path of knowledge is a path of growth. It's not just data, it's not just information. It's a lot more than that. They are doorways. These kind of experiences, psychic information, knowledge, mystical knowledge is like opens up doorways that can really transform people's lives. These are not just about the information. It's a lot more transformative than that when done properly, right?
Right.
So I personally think that the evolution of our planet and the consciousness it is at a stage where a lot more people are opening up, and it's great. And there's going to be some people that choose to really go all in, and that becomes a lifestyle for them. And there's some people who will be more on the outskirts, right? But it's always been there. We've always had that access.
Mhm.
I just think that there's a process to it, and there should be a process to it. It shouldn't just be something that like you just barge in and you do. It's like it takes a level of, yeah, purification of your vessel and initiation, I think.
Mhm.
And it should be done with respect.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
because knowledge of that level is incredible level of power.
Mhm. Right. And let's also talk about the concept of healing energetic blocks, because I think it's very important for personal and spiritual growth.
100%.
Yeah.
So through I've ever since in like mid 2000s, I was working as an energy healer. I was working in psychiatric services, and I knew I was going through a lot of stuff. And I knew that I've been in therapy for many years, but there was some things that needed to be resolved in different ways through energy work. When I got introduced to energy work through Reiki initially,
Mhm.
I found that it was really powerful in terms of like what we're talking about, purifying the vessel and opening up and clearing those blocks. And I feel that we are energetic beings. Everything in the universe is made of energy. Absolutely everything. There's nothing that's not made of energy, which is why I believe it's the universal language of the soul. And so clearing on an energetic level feels really important. And through the line of work that I've been doing over the years in my previous career, working with vulnerable people with complex needs, as well as in my work now as a psychic soul alignment coach, what I found is that there's four common categories of wounding and blocks we experience. That's to do with the healer, the priestess, that has access to that divine knowledge. There's blocks around that, um, because we've been persecuted in the past, because what would society tell us, because our family would feel threatened if we came to be a lot more empowered with our gifts, right? And that would really shake the reality of our community,
Mhm.
right? So there's the thing about feeling like we want to access this, we want to really activate our capacity as the priestess, the healer, the teacher in our communities. There's blocks around that. Then I saw there's the blocks around our self-worth.
Mhm.
There's some
Right.
really common, that's a very common, the self-worth wounding is a very common one, right? As humans, we come into this world, we experience a lot of issues around self-worth. Some of it could be inherited from anything around us, right? Even if it's not meant by other people to put us down, like we might interpret something that makes us like activates a self-worth wound. Um, and that can happen from a very early age in our lives. That can be a very foundational wounding that happens. Then there's the wound around our wealth and our finances and our abundance blocks. This is not just financially related, it's about creating any type of abundance, the
Mhm.
growth sort of mentality and mindset, right? That feels that it's possible for us to have and be everything we desire. That's another wound. And the final wounding type of category is around creation. To feel that we can create our legacies, that we can create beautiful work, you talked about being a content creator, right? To feel that in combination with the self-worth, imagine the creation wounding around self-worth and around, our ability to step into a priestess, a teacher, and of course our abundance blocks. All these together create a very interesting mix that can often freeze people from really stepping out in the world, doing work they love, serving humanity at a higher level. That's why to me it feels important, because these wounds are very much part of the purpose we're here to heal and part of our soul journey to transform. So every time we come back, if we do come back, that we're sort of always working on a deeper level, because in order to really serve humanity at the highest level, at the deepest level, we really need to be working directly with our wounding.
Yeah.
So that we keep on evolving. We can step deeper into being of service, and that feels joyful, and that feels like we can do it, and that feels fun. Because I promise you, a lot of the people who are meant to be doing beautiful work, they just don't feel that they are meant for it because of all the wounding, or they feel they don't know they really kind of measure up, or that they'd be as good, and they're actually brilliant. It's just they're being held back by some of those different types of wounds.
Yeah.
And it's a process. It's a process that, we get into a process with it and we go deeper. There's different layers of it. It's not like I think there's a lot of like quick fix, a lot of people into quick fixing things or promoting quick fixing. I don't believe in it. I believe in it, but I don't think it's as common as people think or they want to think. I think it's a process for sure.
Right. And since we have 3 minutes only, if they want to connect with you, what can they expect? Like, anything you want to talk about your coaching style or, your business.
Well, just in terms of some of the concepts I've discussed here, if they go onto my YouTube channel, I have a lot of different topics I'm exploring in like 10-minute videos, and I go deeper into some of those concepts. So it's called the Mystery School of Samaya Adeline. We can maybe leave a link below. People can connect. I'm on Instagram, whatever people's mode of sort of connection is best for them. Some people are more visual, some people like the auditory. I love YouTube a lot to share, go deeper into concepts and ideas, but they're very welcome to connect through the links. And of course, feel free to get in touch if they feel they want to discuss with me more, they want to explore working or whatever it is. I'm happy to chat more with them as well. So
yeah. And I'll put all the links, your YouTube link and links to your socials in the description box below this video.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Peru. And thank you for giving me an opportunity for talking about things that are very close to my heart.
Yeah. And
I'd
thank
be
you so
very happy to
much
come
for
back.
making, time for this. It was really pleasure, meeting you, connecting with you.
Oh,